Welcome back to our conversation with Ray Dinunzio with TOS Advisors. Before diving in, make sure you check out part one, where we discuss insights in the family office industry and some common issues they face. Welcome back, Ray.
Thanks for having me, John. Good to see you. Good morning.
Absolutely. So a lot of what you talk about is the technology deficit, right?
Mhm.
Can we define that? You've written about it, but let's define that because I think we've talked about that a lot. Let's put some definition around what that technology deficit, and it's not just you don't have technology. It's much more broad than that.
Yeah, well, really it's frustration, right? So again, let's look at two identical family offices applying the exact same technology with radically different outcomes, right? Adoption is a problem, utilization is a problem, how effective the tools are is a problem. Are they getting the most out of the tool? Most people don't, right? And I'll take a shot at it's a Salesforce analogy, right? Many of us have worked on Salesforce at some point in our careers. Uh, Many of us have been frustrated with that experience, right? It's supposed to create efficiencies and it seems to create more work. And people are just like, I'll just do it in Excel, right? Because
Yep.
it's like, it's too much work to get the technology to do what you want it to. And that's part of that deficit because it's all about, did the implementation, was it set up for you? Was it integrated properly to forward think everything that John needs, right? And that's the problem too with like a lot of these engineers, right? They build really cool junk that no one will ever use, right?
Right.
And so like, when you go speak with these guys all day, every day, and we do, they're like, "Why are you doing that?" And they're like, "Well, no, it could do like no one's ever going to use that ever,
Yep.
right?" Um, so it's the adoption, it's how much people like technology deficit for the most part if you had a primary piece of technology that you're operating your family office, normally you throw bodies at that too. So we would say that that's part of the technology deficit, right? We're working with a big family office in Chicago, and there's another one here in Houston that we're engaged with. I mean, they buy every piece of technology that's in the market. Like these guys own all of it. Like they keep looking
Right.
for this unicorn to solve
The
their
magic
problems,
bullet. Yeah.
right? And then they keep throwing bodies. Like this family office has 19 people in it, three open recs in it, every piece of technology going, and they have no idea what the heck's going on. Like I
Hmm.
can't tell you how they're doing, right? One in Chicago we sat down with recently, and holdco opco structure. They sold recently one of their last real big operating companies to a big private equity firm for about $6 billion. And when I met with the CFO and we did some diagnostics, we come in, kind of do that thing again, like what's everybody using? What work product do they have? Why do they want it that way? Because what we want to do is show them how to create a persona-based relationship to the data. So whatever output somebody wants in a modern environment, what we will call an exponential organization, you live in dashboards, not reports. Report is something that somebody has to do manually. Can we make the data automatically run in doing that? And I sat down with him. I'm like, we could probably save you $1.8 million in technology, but you might not want to do what we propose. And he's like, why? I go, I think you got 50% too many people here, right? I don't know what these people are going to do. And he goes like,
Hmm.
that's interesting. So on the sad front, somebody else realized they have 50% too many people, and that guy lost his job, right?
Right.
But the new CFO coming in, and we met recently, and he was like, "This is amazing what you guys are doing." First, he asked me, he's like, we're agnostic, you know that. Like we don't care if you want to buy the technology and have us come in to implement, operate it, integrate it, and manage it day in day out. We don't care if you want to sit on our shared technology stack. We don't care. We do care which pieces of technology are because like if you
Right.
have a particular one that we don't use and you try and wire it this way, it's not going to work. Like somebody has said, hey, they use a different piece, a competitor to like add a power for one piece, and like, would you work on this? And I'm like, no, because we're going to have to throw bodies at it, and that's not our jam. That's not what we do. That's not our DNA,
Right.
right? And his family office in Chicago, the guy was like, can you think of a third option? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, what if we bought the technology and you trained our people and you implemented it and we paid your retainer? And I'm like, looking, you know me, I'm a blackjack player, not a poker player. And I'm like, looking up, and he's like, well, don't lie to me if you can't do it. I go, no, it's not that. I'm just thinking, I mean, what makes us smarter is being challenged. I'm trying to understand why we would do that, why you would do that. And
Yeah,
I
exactly.
told him
Which is the bigger question. Why would you do that?
yeah, like why do you want to throw bodies at things? Right. But this is his DNA. He came from a very large MFO. He's worked in a large single family office, and he's looking at it the same way everybody looks at it. Technology means bodies. And I'm like, I go, I'm just sitting there like looking at him, and he's like, I go, let me show you what I had proposed last year to this family office, right? Well north of $10 billion. Um, I go, I think my proposal was $250,000 for all the technology, the operation of the technology, the implementation of all the technology, the daily management of all the technology, reconciliation systems running on top of the data every day, looking for anomalous areas. And then everything feeds into a system every day that when you turn it on, it's all the best technology operate on your behalf at the highest level without you having a human being touching anything. He was like, oh, never mind what I said. He was like, oh, he was like, yeah, no, this makes more
Rewind the tape.
yeah, yeah, like yeah, well, why don't you save the $800,000 that you're going to go spend on these 2.5 people,
Yeah,
right? You don't need to do it,
no.
right? So it's pretty random, pretty funny.
You're right. I mean, one of the things that our companies share in common is the philosophy of let's figure out what the end in mind is, and let's make sure you get the ROI on the technology you spend. It's an example that I've used it, but I've used it a lot, which is Salesforce, and Sage Intacc's the same. So it's a complex ERP system. Um, Salesforce is a complex platform based on CRM, but it has other uses. And people will go and spend a lot of money on it. They'll hire a couple of admin people, and they'll put these technologies in place. And you'll come back a year later, and they're using Salesforce as like Act.com, and they're using Intact as QuickBooks. And it's
Yeah,
like, well, I could have saved you a lot of money by just giving you Act and QuickBooks if that's all you were going to do with it. And so, our view is the technology has come along, cloud technology has come along, the ability to integrate systems has come so far. You don't need to do those type of things. We can manage that for you, probably cheaper than, you know, than having, like you said, a bunch of bodies. Um, and you're going to get the output, you're going to get the ROI. And if you do still want to have bodies, because people like to have people around,
yeah,
use them to analyze the data,
yeah,
not to input the data, not to reconcile the data, but to actually use the data to make your decisions better.
right. And know that the data's got a quality control system around it, right? Because so many people are making investment decisions on corrupted data. Like we're engaged with a new family office in Austin, and they want to do an A to A conversion. And I'm like, okay, like no problem. Like we can do that. Like, but here's the problem. I go, how accurate is your data anyway? He's like, it's pretty good. I'm like, so you want to go back 10 years of pretty good data. Why? Like, like if you want this, and we're working with another company out of Y Combinator that's helping us like solve this backfill problem. The backfill problem is a terrible problem. Nobody wants to deal with it, right? No technology. They want to price it so exorbitantly expensive that if you did it, they're challenging you. Like, you'd have to be an idiot to hire us at this much money, but if you'll pay it, we'll do it, right?
Right, exactly.
But the problem is it's still a manual thing. The problem is it's still got errors, right? In the case of one tax firm we were working with, their data control system looks like data entry. They have a checker, they have a check the checker, and an MD. Four people signing off that that thing in that line is accurate. 150 man hours a quarter to do a quarterly estimated tax return. I'm like, is this like because you guys want to charge by the hour? Is that?
Right.
And he's like, no, we're probably losing $100,000 a year on this because we can't really charge them what we're spending. And I'm like, man, you don't have to do it this way. Like, you could use Sage Intacct, right? And we could move all of this data in here automatically, right? You know the drill. You
Mhm.
wire the data from the source. We have 3 to 6 different aggregation tools, and it's running through the system. And then we're using, you know, agentive AI in there to audit everything that's supposed to be there for you, right? Because there's data anomalies in this stuff. And then we'll go move it through Knowledger into Sage Intacct, right? Like,
Mhm.
and they're like, they've changed directionally how they're approaching this and looking at it, right? So it's like we want to think beyond the four walls of the family office to other places we can express efficiency, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
make everybody happy, right?
And all we've talked about is really an outcome driven approach, right? I mean,
Mhm.
we're moving along, moving far from where we talked about earlier, which is feature and function,
Right.
to the outcome. What are you actually trying to accomplish? And it's
Well, the
like
problem is,
the conversation you had with a guy who's like a third option, and you were like, well, why would, I'm happy to help you, but why would that make sense for either one of us to do that? What's the outcome that they're really trying to accomplish? And that third option was not going to achieve that, right?
right. No, I mean, look, again, because he's looking at it traditionally. Like, God rest his soul, Tony Woods, who passed away last year from RSM, what beautiful human being. We were talking about data architecture, and I showed him what we had built. And he goes, like, Ray, how'd you figure this out? And I'm like, well, like, how many subject matter experts do you guys have at your shop? And he was like, he's a great man, right? Like 50 something people in the family office practice, 20 something subject matter experts. And I'm like, and yet you chose those pieces of technology. Like, I'm like, so you have all these experts and well, yeah, these were cheaper. I'm like, yeah, because they don't work, right? Like, and so now you've got people at your company moving data across all these different places. That's prone to error. It's expensive, right? You have to find that person that you train on the technology. There's turnover in these things. There's turnover in family offices. Turnover at like all firms in the world. And I go, and your outcome is suboptimal. And he goes, well, how'd you figure this out? And I go, because I didn't know what I was doing. Like, like, like our whole thesis just was it has to be digital or we get an out. Like that's it. It's like it's binary. Either it did it or it didn't do it. If it doesn't do it, we can't use it. Right. And
Well, you
so
didn't have the fallback. You didn't have the fallback of hiring a bunch of people to make it work, right? I mean
yeah.
that's what a lot of people do. It's like, well, I'll get the cheap technology without thinking, okay, well, on the back end, I got to hire a bunch of people, which which you got to pay cost of living increases, you got to
Yeah.
do turnover, you got to do training, all those kind of things. But that's the viewpoint, the normal viewpoint people have. I think it's changing to a certain extent, but that's that's where people are coming from, right?
Yeah. Look, I mean, this well. You've been around here a long time. Just getting people to think about going into the cloud, right? That was neurotic for some of these people. They're like, well, we need to have it on the server on-prem. And I'm like, well, why? Right? Like, you can use an abacus too, right? Like, you know, we went into a family office recently in Palo Alto, and they're using Lotus 123. And I'm
Oh,
like,
oh,
well, you're in Palo
that
Alto.
hurts. That hurts, man.
Yeah, I'm like, the good news is you're in Palo Alto. I'm sure there's a technology museum around here somewhere. Like, like, let's put a display up with you guys, right? We saw another one in Texas recently, and they were saving everything on the files, like file disk. I'm like, well, your computer's not even hooked to the internet, so you're safe, right? Like that's awesome,
But files never
right?
get corrupt,
Yeah,
you know.
like you have no idea what's going on with your money, right? Your,
But,
your
but
vendors are
you're,
all taking advantage of you, right? Again, you guys have so much money that they've got it with all the usual suspects, and like, I'm
yep,
like, you're just not looking at this correctly. But it's okay, right? To each their own.
yeah.
Like,
Everybody has their journey, right?
yeah, and then we also get into sort of problem. There's a lovely lady, Tony Burke, who was running a big family office operation in Chicago for a very well-known family, and they were sort of dismantling all of these sort of commingled structures and all this different stuff. And she's an awesome lady. She works at a family office in Connecticut now. But she oversees one. She was like, when we were first doing this, a friend introduced me to her, and she was like, all we ever really want from anyone is feedback, right? Tell us what you think of this. Is there a hole in it? What are we missing? That's all we want from anybody in life. We have that conversation 3 times a week. That's really helpful to us. And she's like, Ray, a lot of family offices are going to be threatened by you. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, they're not necessarily going to embrace what you're doing. She goes, oftentimes, think about it, Ray. They want more people working for them. If they have more people working for them, they're more important, they're more valuable, there's a bigger budget. And I'm like, oh shit, this sounds like government work. Like, I'm like, I remember I got into that.
Where's Doge when you need it, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I got into that. I work for this big company, and people would tell you who they are by how many people they had reporting to them, and I'm like,
Mm.
you got a psychological problem, right? Like you need to see an analyst of the kind where you lay on the couch and get it. Like, but she was not wrong,
Mm-mm.
and it's taken us this many years that we're at such a big inflection point now because there has been this embracement of outsourcing. There has been an embracement of, yeah, your data sitting on AWS, or we can put it in a data warehouse or a data lake house for you, data lake, and we can have all your data at rest sitting there for you. Like, it doesn't really matter to us. Like, what are we solving for? It doesn't matter to us, right? And we're not selling you anything. Like, we have nothing to sell. So we use the technology that we use because it does solve the problems. And if you do some work on this concept of exponential organizations by Salim Ismail, who teaches this program at Singularity University and NASA Ames, right? That's what I became really like. I kept thinking about applying this to family offices and financial services. Conceptually, it's an exponential organization can do things 20 times better and 20 times faster than a traditionally wired competitor. And my thesis was, could we take could we make the budget of a family office go 20 times further and be 20 times faster, be 20 times more efficient, right? So you can go down this path, you can go do it all yourself, and that's fine. And we'll help you do that if that's what you want to do. We'll show you the pieces. We work with a big family office in San Antonio, and he's like, you keep helping me. And I'm like, yeah. He goes, why? I'm not paying you anything. I'm like, you got a pretty big name, right? Your family's like biggest college in one of the top business colleges in Texas, your family name on it. Like, you speak to a lot of people. He's like, yeah, no, we do. We're visible. I'm like, yeah, say something nice about me. Like, it's okay. Like,
All right, all
but
right.
like when he was going down this path, he was going to Sage Intact and Adapar, and I was helping him validate why I thought those were appropriate decisions. But then I'm like, you're gonna have a data problem. How many people in your family office? He's like, there's four of us. I go, who? My dad and my uncle. What do you rely on them for? He goes, going to lunch. That's about it. Right. And me and an analyst, I'm like, you have 250 different trusts, John. They're tracking data on 250 different entities. And I'm like, you need more tech than this. And like, I would really encourage you to think about some of these other middleware things. And you're going to need a really good design engineer. You're going to need more people. Like, you're not going to be able to solve this, right? Your analyst's full-time job is going to be operating and kind of keeping your technology up and running for just like Outpar. It's an amazing tool, but you need expertise on it, right?
Yep.
If you're going to get what you're paying to what you said, you're paying for it either way. You might as well get the best outcome from it. If you're going to get the best outcome from it, that means you got to put a lot of time in this, and you got to send this person out to lots of programs to keep staying current with what's new and what's innovative on it. And then, you need to sit on that from a data hygiene standpoint every day and keep looking for stuff. We know this, right? You see a report like that doesn't look like, right? My cash should not be returning 92%. I mean, it would be great if it did, but it's
Right.
probably not right, right? So
Right.
like somebody's got to constantly go through and mine for that. In our case, we do it with agentive AI. We don't
Right.
have a human doing it, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you either fractionalize it and spread it across a number of clients, or you use technology like you're talking about, or some combination of the two. But to
Yeah,
have a single power user, then you have the issue. If you have that single power user then you got the proverbial bus issue, right?
yeah, yeah,
And this person has all the backdrop, has all the history, understands everything, which is great. That makes that person very valuable. But if you don't have a backstop on that person, then person leaves, or you
yeah.
know,
And then your technology is down. It's just
right.
all of a sudden you're down, right?
Hmm.
And we know this. Like, look at the numbers, John. Like, I was looking at the Deloitte presentation from Dr. Rebecca Gooch. She spoke at this conference I was at a couple weeks ago in Cayman. Like, I was not aware of this. From 2019 in North America, there were 2,210 family offices according to their work, and that's like $1 billion plus, right? I don't think they count below a billion. By 2025, it's 3,550. Right? That's over 100% increase and
Mhm.
the growth of family offices. And by 2030, they're going to say it's going to be approaching 4,200. 130% growth. Like, where are these people going to come from?
Right.
Right? And you want talented people. Now, invariably, if you have an embedded family office, some of those are going to come out of your company, right? That makes sense.
Mhm.
And we're
Mhm.
seeing a big trend there too, because people are selling these assets. Like in the case of that one family office in Chicago, they owned 100% of the company, so they can do whatever they want, right? But now that that company is being sold, they have to clean up the headcount in the operation of people that were really serving the family but inside the corporation, right? And so now they're rolling over into the family office. And then an unintended consequence of this, like I read a paper recently on this, on embedded family offices, is they're paying way more money to run the family office than they needed to. And that's okay because they're paying people that they trust, right? Their CFO, they trust her to the end of the earth. She ran the enterprise. They sold it for $3 billion. You know, why not trust her? Of course. But she's not in a position to understand how to set up and operate and run the family office really well, right? So now, not only are you paying more for the service, it's okay, but you're getting a super suboptimal outcome, which
Yep.
is not okay,
Right.
right? And they have no idea where to go, and they're going to go down the same path. And you know this. These damn technology salespeople are really good. Like, they're amazing, right? But the cool thing is they're going to take you out to lunch and dinner, and they're going to do all these different things, and then they're going to be gone.
Right.
And like, and the implementation team and the integration team is quite a bit different than the salesperson.
Yes.
Um, and so that's why people have so much frustration. Technology is sold; it's not bought,
Correct.
and we don't know what we're looking at.
No.
Right? We
Which I,
want to shrink all of these technologies down to make it feel like you're operating an iPhone. Right? It should
right.
feel that intuitive.
Yep.
Right?
Which gets you to the last point, which is that operational excellence, right? I mean,
Mm.
you talked about, if you're self-grading on operational excellence with a family office, on a scale of 1 to 10, you're not finding too many people on the 10 scale, on the 10 side. Um,
Super rare.
yeah.
Right?
And,
I would
and
say it's a unicorn status. Right?
yep. Have you run across somebody close to a 10?
No.
No.
You know, and it's not for lack of effort, right?
Right.
We're engaged with one right now. It's got 200 people in it, and they've tried it 3 times, and they just brought in a CTO from a major private equity firm to be the CTO of the family office. It's a big operation, like approaching $30 billion, the most active direct investor in the country.
Yep.
But they're operationally aware that they've tried it before and it's not worked. For an organization like that, there are too many people with a voice inside the firm,
Right.
right? It's no different than a company or dealing with financial advisors. They all think they're the expert and want it a specific way. And we got brought into a stand-up family office the other day from a hedge fund guy, and one of the people working in the family office was like, she was super enamored with a piece of technology. And I'm like, yeah, no, we like it. She was like, I'd use Black Diamond and I'd use Adapar, and this is the best. I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm like, you think I care? I don't. Like,
Right.
I care about the outcome and the
Right.
output. Are we
Right.
safe? Is your data safe? Did it move to where you needed it to move without a human being touching it? Is it helping you answer questions without you putting your fingers on the keyboard? And we can use that piece of technology. We wire it for one of our family offices. They want two. So that's okay. But you're getting hung up emotionally about this and thinking
Right.
like you want to fight me. I'm like, I'm not here to
You
fight.
win. You win.
Go. Like, I'm
Right.
not here to argue. I'm not here to fight. I just think there's an alternative way to look at this. What is the outcome? And I had breakfast with this great guy, Harsh Goebel from Motive Ventures in New York a month ago. Super bright guy, super curious, lovely guy. And, we were sitting having breakfast, and I told him I was frustrated because I had been with this other big family office that we're having a conversation with. And they're personalizing how they think of technology. Well, my brother doesn't like that piece. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, so we're probably not going to be there. I go, but you just told me you came out of the family office in New York City. They have 8 people working there administratively, and you're mortified of that. She's like, yeah, we never want to be like that. Like, we just want to be smart investors. I'm like, yeah, but you're going to end up there. Like, you don't have
Right.
a choice, right? Your brothers are going to keep finding more investments. Your father keeps finding amazing investments. He's one of the top 10 investment bankers in the world. I go, your administrative burden is going to grow, right? Just because.
Yep.
And the reason that we would say that out of par was part of the mix, and is what Harsh and I did at breakfast. I was describing this meeting. I go, she's looking at it wrong. She's looking at technology and trying to make emotional decisions on the technology. She's not looking for the outcome. And I'm like, and we at the same time at breakfast, we're like, we both said it's about the outcome. It's not about
Right. Yeah. If we could get emotional about the outcome, right? I really want to have the outcome where I get the data at the right time, at the right place that allow me to make the decision. That's what I'm emotionally,
yeah,
tied to. I don't care how you do it,
yeah.
right? And
Why
I
do
want it
you
for a
care? Like,
reason,
why
and
would
I
they?
want to,
Like,
I
if
want it
someone
for,
was,
yeah. I mean, and I want it for a reasonable price.
yeah,
That's what I'm emotionally attached to.
yeah. What if I could give you something that people spent $3, $4 million on, uh, for a fraction of the expense, and it's operated at the highest level? And so at the very beginning, John, like when we were doing this, we way undershot. Like um, we were like, we'll focus on the 100 million to sort of $1 billion client, right? Like, they don't want to spend a lot of money. They don't want to stand up all these different things. We can like deliver a highly automated system to them. Everybody kept telling us, you need to go higher. And I'm like, well, the bigger guys, like, they probably have it figured out, right? No, they don't. Like 3 engagements that we've been working on of late are like 28 billion, 35 billion, and 50 billion single family offices. Um, Now it's just data, so it doesn't really matter. Our smallest client today is $40 million. An energy guy. He's got all this oil wells, and he needs to keep track of like where the flow is, what the commodity exposure is. To us, it's just data, and we can
Right.
visualize that for him, so he can turn on his app every day and look at this stuff and understand where he needs to have cash if he has to do some work and remediate a well, right?
Hmm.
And so another interesting thing that we're starting to see a trend in is we've got 4 or 5-ish engagements that we're speaking with private equity firms about standing up an operational family office inside the firm for the partners because they have so much junk. And
Yep.
they're smart enough to recognize that their staff is actually doing the work, right? And they're like, it's not lost on us, everybody, that all 5 partners are having like 2.5 staff each running around taking care of all their stuff. It's their money, it's their firm, do whatever you want. But like, if you're going to do it that way, then why not drive the most efficiency possible? And I'm like, look, we'll just create a bespoke relationship to everybody through the data. Nobody can see anybody else's stuff. But we can just automate the outcome for everybody and like have it show up, right? It's kind of interesting. We think that's like a really interesting trend that will grow a lot. And I think that is a great application for you guys too for outsourced accounting because like moving all that data across from them and they want centralization of that, right?
Yep.
And that's like a really big thing that we got from Boston Consulting Group. We think really highly of those guys. It's sort of like no tax surprises, no surprises on these different things, right? Close the books quickly, easily, within 3 days of a month and doing all these different things. And then, we also get like, we this one family office is got large committee. We're dealing with 18 people to make a decision on this technology. Like
Right.
we've spent more money on these meetings than it's going to cost to wear this family office, right?
Right.
And one person keeps getting hung up, and I'm like, gosh, this person's really disruptive to these calls because we got brought in by the investment team, right? They need help. They have tons of stuff to keep track of, tons, right? Thousands of direct investments. And the other person, because it's committee driven at this family office, which is noble, right? They want everyone to have a voice and have like a say and direction where they
Yep.
go, kind of Ray Dalio like, I guess, maybe. Um, but she keeps wanting the investment book of record to be an accounting book of record. And we keep telling her, like, this is not happening here. This is
Right.
still happening for you in whatever you use, NetSuite or whatever you use. And that's what your world is. And it's unfortunately, it's
They are not the same.
yeah, like and it's difficult for people, right?
It is. We cross that bridge a lot. There's an investment book of truth, and there's an accounting book of truth.
Yeah,
Yes, they need to be reconciled,
yeah,
but at the end of the day, they serve two different purposes.
yeah.
Right.
And we tend to reconcile them on December 31st. right?
Right.
Right. So,
Exactly.
right. We have,
Make sure cash is reconciled.
yeah, we have a family
That's the
office
biggest thing.
so big. I think that she just told the accounting team, if it's less than $2 million, I don't want to know about it. She was like, I don't want to know, right?
Yep. Yep.
It'll surface at year end,
Yep.
right? Uh,
Absolutely.
so it's yeah, it's really interesting, and um, there's a lot happening. It's a really exciting time. I think this technology stuff and where we're seeing AI adoption, good use cases for agentic AI. Um, Everybody's talking about it. It's so silly, right? Everyone's talking about it, and from a practical standpoint, who's really doing it? Not many,
No.
right? But we're seeing through our technology partners really interesting things that they're working.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I read about it, I hear about it, and podcasts about it, and it. I think the low hanging fruit is really the call center world,
Yeah.
and that's where I think people invest and spend the money, and from there, I think you'll see outgrowth of opportunity. But you have to have, I think, a scale to make it truly worth the investment to build it out and build it out right. So I'll be interested. I think this year, I think we're going to see a lot of that into the, into the, call center world, and there's going to be a lot of displacement in the call center business.
Yeah.
But I think that investment that people are making will then feed into other industries that are not maybe as scale worthy, as the call center world is. And I think it'll be in the areas that we're talking about.
Well, it's like you and I spoke about in the beginning, like the difference between a multifamily office and a single family office, right? Like one of the reasons that I think um, we've had so much success with engineering and technology partners is while you and I spend all of our career now at this point in our life in mostly these large single family offices and whatnot, working in this segment, and it's fun, and that's where my background is, and that's what I know. Um, but from a software company standpoint, it's a terrible client base. It's awful, right? It's
Yep.
irrational. It's not commercial, right? We can be super frugal. Takes us 3.5 years to make a decision. Like, oftentimes we're run like lemonade stands, not a high performing business, right? And so if we're selling software, we'd rather sell it to these big commercial things that are going to buy bigger licenses and enterprise
Right.
solutions, right? And so it puts like the single family office in a really precarious position because as much as it's important to all of us in this segment, we're not that important to technology firms.
Right.
They'd rather sell it to these MFOs and do all this stuff. So to be able to have a voice inside these firms, and we think our value proposition is really quite good because we can help them stay super current, super relevant, leading edge of what the problems are. And we're just strategic engineering design partners. We're not
Yep.
staff, right? There's no
Right.
cost to them. And we commit an inordinate amount of time every month with these firms, betaing things and testing new things and rolling out new products. So it puts us in a really cool position because we get to work with really innovative, incredibly bright people, right? That are sort of an offshoot to our client experience and our own personal and commercial experience.
Well, they're forefront of the innovation that's going on,
Yeah, it's
kind of
really
going back.
interesting.
Yeah,
And then we
it
get to
is.
see like really cool stuff that's coming out of some of these venture firms
Yep.
in places like Y Combinator and others because they know what we're looking for. Like I've been
That's
looking
right.
for a digitally operated trust company for 5 years, and everyone knows I am. I'm like, look, I'm looking for one done on distributed ledger technology because then I can radically cut down the expense of all that admin and that burden, right? Because at the end of the day, most trust companies, many are really asset management firms, right?
Right.
And doing some trust admin. So if we could automate all of that admin function and put that on, blockchain, like that radically changes the expense. There's also
So
another company that we keep trying to tell people someone needs to build a digitally operated title company because all these title companies are just like, why are we all paying title work on a house that's been sold 12 times?
right,
What are
exactly.
we doing? Like,
Yep. Well, somebody's got to make the $250, right?
yeah, who's paying off all these politicians to make So
So
you're
anybody
like,
anybody out there that has inroads into either a digital trust company or digitizing title,
yeah,
contact Ray. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, we worked with a couple that we were close with, but they ended up not going direction where we wanted them to go. So it wasn't, it didn't happen yet. Still hadn't
right.
happened. But I think about all these corporate trustees, think about all these different things where that application could be, right?
Yep.
Like so much of the financial services industry products have a trustee on it. Like there's so much automation you could provide to this and radically reduce the frictional expense. And I spoke to this one guy, he's like, yeah, we have access to all these venture investments and stuff. I don't care. Like, I don't care about the product. Like, you got somebody who's got $900 million worth of mineral rights in West Texas. And if they could own that and have it administered through a digital trust company, every time there's distributions, when there's split ownership, different things happening, all of that gets executed on the blockchain, right? It'd be radically more efficient,
Yep.
right? So interesting things, interesting times. Okay. I think we're going to see a lot of really cool stuff in alternative investment space coming out in the next 12, 24 months on new
Yeah.
technologies driving radical innovation into the space.
Yeah.
Like,
Uh,
it's going to be really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think on that, let's wrap up. Any kind of final words of wisdom you want to leave the audience, and then if you have somebody that's interested, how would they reach you?
Yeah. Look, first, thank you very much for having kind of you to offer to let me get on here with you. You can reach me at ray@tos-advisors.com, ADVISORS. We love speaking with people in family offices. Like we spend 30% of our time doing pro bono work, just helping people because we're just learning along the way, right?
Yep.
And you know our philosophy, you, me, and Ryan Carey and Sue McDermott and these people that lead with their heart. They're good people. Like we just think we do the right thing, and that's how we get our name out there by helping others.
Yep.
We don't charge for that work and help them out. I'd say that like when people are going down this path, the thing that I would focus on the most, that what I've learned is as much as you're trying to contact your friends on how they're doing, what they're doing, or you're visiting with others, you're that's a terrible way to make a decision on adoption of technology in a family office. And make the decisions based on where you think you need to be over 5 to 7 years, not like what you're improving today. Be forward thinking about, is this technology going to help us be protected in future state, right? And I would encourage you to find technology companies that are extremely innovative and not just quoting AI and Copilot and all these other things, but that they're creating an open architectured system where you can add API connectivity upstream and downstream from your data. That's going to be
Yep.
radically important, or you're going to be probably rewiring in 2 to 3 years anyway.
Absolutely.
Be mindful of long-term contracts, right? I would put clauses in contracts that were my escape clause, like how do I get out of this if it doesn't work? Right? I do not want to be beholden to you for 3 years if after 12 months we've determined that this is not working. You should let me out of this contract. So
Right.
I'd have to put that language in there on how you can exit if things aren't working to your liking. Yeah, look, whatever we can do to help anybody, we're always here. We love meeting family office folks because they challenge us to be smarter. Right?
Yeah.
They're all good practitioners. They know what their pain points are. And here's the problem too, and then we'll shut it down. The problem with where we started when you said based on the outcome, what outcome do you want? I would suggest that nobody knows what the outcome is that they want.
Right.
But it's sort of like I would never be a good candidate to build a custom home. Because I can walk into a home and go, oh, I love this house. Right? But if you left me with a blank slate and an architect, we'd hate each other and beat the snot out of each other, and we'd never have anything productive done. Right.
Yep.
So I don't know that they really know what they want.
That's right.
And I don't think they're a good person from a design candidate standpoint to be able to be in a position to figure it out. Right.
Right.
The only way we got there was by having this conversation with so many different people over and over and over again and said, what does Sally do? Why is she doing this? Right? We have
That's
family
right.
office that we're working with right now here in Houston, and they're like $900 million. There's like 14 people working in there. And I'm like everybody's moving everything manually. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's
Right.
what they want to do.
If you make a conscious decision, that's what you want, then
Yeah,
great. But if
yeah,
you wound up that way accidentally,
yeah.
then maybe revisit.
Yeah, and then like I've heard, over the past 2 years, they've adopted some more technology and they're frustrated with it, and people keep quitting, and like it's sort of like, well, you look a lot like everybody else right now, right?
That's right. Well, I mean, the younger generation, not to sound like an old fogey, but you know, the way you work and how you work and the tools you work with are extraordinarily important. Uh, to the younger up and coming generation. We're seeing that in the accounting space. If we don't adapt from a technology standpoint, so that these people don't have to do things over and repetitively and over and over and over, when they live their life on technology, that's easy for them to operate. And then they come into a business and it's like, you guys have millions of dollars. What are you doing? Why are we doing all this? When I can do these five things on my phone,
Yeah,
and here I've got a blue screen, right?
yeah,
Explain that to me, right? And
yeah.
we've
I
got
think
to we've got to get across that.
this challenge is going to be highly more illuminated over the next 5 years with this growth of family offices. Like, if you're not giving your employees a good work experience, right, then they're going to leave. There's not necessarily a lot of vertical mobility in a family office.
No.
So you should think about, I mean, Bob Asani always says this, eliminate undifferentiated heavy lifting. Like, you should think about what in this stuff you can future proof and automate so that data entry isn't fun, right? I mean, it might be more fun than stamping out license plates in a prison, but not much. Right?
They're close.
And like it's prone to errors. You're going to have all these different things. So if you could eliminate that friction point and use the people that you have to do smart and intelligent work, because people are going to get more difficult. I read that piece by Deloitte recently. I think it was the New York Times quoted it or something. Um, Assistant in like a couple of these family offices, like $195,000 for an assistant, right? Because there's trust and they're looking after, John's stuff. John knows them. That makes sense for that person, but you're going to need to find people moving forward. You're going to want smart people moving forward. Your dollars can go farther in your family office than you're probably aware that you can do it with.
Yep.
Right?
High
So,
achievers attract other high achievers, and if you
yeah,
want this high efficiency, high achieving family office, then you got to have a high efficiency, high achieving infrastructure that is going to attract the right people to work with you.
yeah, 100%.
Well, I appreciate it, Ray. Always of interest talking to you. Really appreciate our partnership. Look forward to continue those discussions and finding opportunities to work together.
Yeah, likewise.
Um, and with that, I'll call it the end of another episode of Cast Matters, our family office series. Everybody, hope you enjoy this conversation. There'll be other episodes following this, so please watch out for those. And I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.